this is all very unscripted, right? I've been thinking about a few things since yesterday, but I haven't really thought about what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it a little bit. But I was thinking about it, and just now I was thinking too, something I've thought before, like I don't even really know how much of a definite sense of self that I have. There's always just been kind of too much going on. I think by the time I was in my teens, 16, 17, something like that, I was starting to feel like I knew who I was, but it was just a little bit, I don't know, I mean, a little bit fragile, not really ready for some of the things that I took on at the time, I think, especially considering that my family just could be kind of harsh about things sometimes. I mean, I think they had the right idea about a number of things, but you also kind of just never knew when things were just gonna kind of all of a sudden the wind was just gonna go the other way, and it would all just be like like these recriminations and things, and it was just real weird, a little bit off, you know. But that's unfortunately, it's just kind of how my family did stuff. So that kind of made it harder to feel like I knew what to do consistently in terms of how to think about myself and my actions and that kind of thing. You know, my family had some trauma, which they never really quite resolved, and I didn't really know how to. There was stuff in life I just was not ready to deal with. But I tried. I tried, you know. And then over time, my life experience kind of showed me basically the things that were kind of important, and helped me to understand how to do it. Although I still screw up, obviously, I screw up sometimes. But that's, I don't know, I think it's kind of the thing, like, to be able to, the thing that's really nice about principles, and like certain rules for things that you do and things that you don't do, is that you can rely on those even when you have no idea like who you are, how you feel, or any of that stuff. So that's kind of a nice, that's the thing that's nice about them. I think sometimes people find them restricting, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, everything needs to have a boundary, right? If we didn't, like our skin is like a boundary for our lives, right? If you didn't have skin, we would all just be these, like, you know, puddles of like blood and organs and bones, and it would be just, how would we even ever do anything? So your thoughts and your feelings have to, and sort of just your actions have to have something to contain them also, or else you just kind of, you know, just kind of this amorphous like, you know, thing. So anyway, and I was thinking about this. So it's something that's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult for anyone to establish a sense of self, right? And then there's just been so many crises, just one after another after another after another. So you kind of can never really just kind of settle into feeling like I know who I am, that kind of thing. I was thinking about something too, like when I was reading about Tiger Woods yesterday. I'm gonna sit down. This is like just like a little. This is near where I'm gonna be for part of the day, but this just happens to be like where I'm settling right now. But anyway, I was reading about Tiger Woods yesterday, and it's like one of the things, I don't know, it's sort of a few years ago, so I don't know what his thinking about it is now, but something just kind of struck me. It was an article that was written about something that he had talked about with his therapist at the time, or whatever it was, that like, oh no, you always have to feel something for the person that you're dating, that kind of thing. And I was thinking, you know, I don't know. I mean, the point about being healthy and having a normal life, I don't know, just you can it's okay to casually date somebody, though. I mean, sometimes, I mean, therapists, I think most of them are pretty well meaning, but sometimes they say things that are just, you know, what's gonna happen, what's going on, you know? Are they like, is the person, whoever it is he's seeing for counseling, or whatever it is that he's been taught from counseling, had they been saying like, well, you have to be totally in love with everyone you date? I mean, because either you're just gonna end up with, you know, who can do that, right? Either you're gonna end up with a client who is just gonna revert to the stuff he was doing before, just because it's too much. You can't be in love with everyone that you meet and go on a date with, or whatever it is, right? And you're not supposed to have to do that. Or you can just end up with someone who's an emotional wreck. You know what I mean? It's like, I just remember, it's kind of a subtle difference. I think you got to try to figure out how to balance your life so that you're not just like a thing out of a therapist's workbook. Because I remember when I was in my late teens, even throughout a lot of my life, actually, sort of depending on who the counselor was, but it happened a number of times where they just didn't know what they were even talking about, unfortunately, like about certain things. Yeah, they had the right idea about in terms of like, you know, respect for yourself and respect for the other person and trying to have a good relationship with someone and that kind of thing. But they were just kind of dodos about things in certain ways. Like, I would walk in to the office and I would say something like, okay, I met this guy, you know, he's good looking, but he doesn't seem like he's a very nice guy, and he keeps saying all this stuff that just doesn't seem sincere to me, you know. And then the therapist would be like, oh, well, you just think that you just feel bad that he's saying all this stuff to you just because you have low self-esteem. And then they would like make me feel bad about my very accurate judgment call about what kind of person it was. And then I would, you know, like put aside my reservations about the person. He would treat me badly because he was that kind of guy, which I had sensed about him right away. Then I would be devastated, go back to the therapist's office, and she'd be like, oh, you know, you're clearly like, and then she'd be like, oh, why can't you let go of this? Right? I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, the point about counseling is not supposed, it's not, I mean, plus there's no way to make counseling make your life totally safe for you in everything that you do, right? So, I mean, I'm not planning to just going to talk about Tiger Woods. I was just thinking there's that's kind of a danger sometimes in counseling, where you walk in, you've got, your life is falling apart in one way or another, and so you're willing to do anything that they say to try to make sure that your life can be healthy and that kind of thing. Especially if it's been embarrassing in some way. I mean, oh my God, like when I was, you know, in living in Vermont, and I had first been in the hospital, and it was just like everybody knew, and it's such a small town. It was like, you know, more than 20 years ago, so the stigma was even worse then. And it was just, you know, certainly 10 years later, when nothing really had gotten that much better, you know, and I was just like desperate to like make my life, you know, just not like feel like a jerk on the loser anymore. You know, it was just like I literally did everything the therapist told me to do, and some of it was really wrong for me, right? But my thought is like, okay, well, the point is to have full expression of your life, and not just to be like operating within this very narrow set of boundaries that the counselor has set out for you. Yeah, at the beginning, you know, when you're just in recovery from something or from like patterns of behavior that are really destructive for you, the straight and narrow is the way to go with it. Just, you know, very small steps, one foot after the other, never straying out of bounds, even putting like, you know, blinders on, that kind of thing, just to make sure that you're reaching your goal of like establishing a baseline of health. But the idea that like a single guy, you know, who's got, you know, just has just can do anything in the world that he wants to do with his time has to be, you know, just like searching for the one true love, like every time he goes out on a date, is a little bit much, I think. You know, you want to make sure, I mean, yeah, you want to be, you know, clear about what your vulnerabilities are, but the idea that he, you know, and then the thing is too, the kind of, like, it's funny sometimes, I look at these people that have so much money, and I think about all the things that they could be doing with their time. I mean, they could be doing anything they want to do, like at any time ever, you know. It's how many of them, and I'm not thinking of him in particular about, you know, this way, but sometimes some of them, like a number of them, have been like, why are you wasting your time on things that don't matter, you know, like, you know, persecuting me or promoting all kinds of things that are bad and don't make any sense. I mean, like, why don't you just, I mean, you have so many millions of dollars in the bank, you could spend $1 million just, I don't know, to do anything, to go back to school, it would be nothing for you to get like just a college degree, or for you to, you know, visit every museum in the world, you know, in a month or something, you know what I mean? Like just all these things that you could do, people you could meet, places you could go, you know, expanding your horizons, that kind, you know what I mean? Like it's just, and so it's just kind of bemused me, and sometimes made me angry and very cranky. I mean, here I am stuck, you know, like counting literally every penny of every money that, like every penny of money that I have. And yet people who have just like literally could do anything with their time just kind of don't, you know? So anyway, I was thinking about that. It's a caveat, because I've talked about counseling, and I think it's important. It's hard to find the right person, but it's kind of a caveat, I would think. You know, you don't want to let the crisis that you are in when you first sought out counseling to make you so afraid that you can't really live your life. And it's not, you know, it's interesting. I think that kind of goes, I think that goes across sort of all like healthcare, actually. You know, sometimes people who have had physical problems end up being overly cautious too, or just investing too much in whatever it is that their healthcare authority says to them. You still have to live your life. You know, you're supposed to be able to do the things that, you know, make you happy. just, you know, find out what they are, try lots of different things, you know, go places, see people, do what you want. You know, it's supposed to, counseling is supposed to lead to your greater freedom. You know, sometimes, you know, maybe you need to like put some structure in place first, and that they can help you with that, but it's not supposed to just kind of make you, why do I want to use the word neuter? You're not supposed to be like, it's not supposed to like turn you into someone who can't live your life.